Good day. Now we will tackle about the third world and the global south. And for today's objectives, we have defined global south from the third world, deconstructing first, second, and third world hierarchy, and differences between global south and the global north.
Kapag pinag-uusapan ang klasifikasyon ng mga bansa sa pagiging mayaman o mahirap, kalimitan nating maririnig ang mga kategoryang first world, second world, at third world. Ang mga bansang developed o industrialized with strong economic stability ay karaniwang tinatawag na first world. Those nations that are neither the first world nor poor as a third world ay kabilang sa kategorya ng second world. The first world belong to the global north, that encompass all industrialized democratic countries which were assumed to be allied with the United States in the struggle against the Soviet Union. Finland and Switzerland maintained strict neutrality. The second world also belonged to global north, that was anchored in the industrialized communist realm of the Soviet Union and its Eastern European satellites. Yet it often included poor communist states located elsewhere. Moreover, the nations that are poorest or economically underdeveloped ay tinatawag namang third world. Third world is included in the global south. It refers to the developing which represents mainly agrarian economies in Africa, India, Latin America, and others that are not as economically sound and politically stable. It is tend to be characterized by war, conflict, poverty, and tyranny. Tama ba ang mga kahulugan na ito? Paano nabuo ang mga klasipikasyong ito? Ang klasifikasyon ng first world, second world, at third world ay umusbong noong kalagitnaan ng 20th century. After World War II, the US and the Soviet Union continued to compete for global supremacy. This era from 1947 to 1991, known as the Cold War. It was the period of Western capitalism against Soviet socialism. When and where this war started? This war started after the World War II. The USSR, or the United Social Soviet Republic, and the United States of America were allies at first. They fought side by side against the Nazi regime of Germany. After World War II, America's gained a lot of prominence in terms of politics and economy, kaya nainggit yung isang panig. There are 15 Soviet republics, included Russia, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Belarus, Estonia, Georgia, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Latvia, Bhutan, Ukraine, Moldova, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan, and Uzbekistan are the member of USSR. When America is well known, it created a tension between USSR and United States, so nagkaroon na ng issue between the two. It is called a Cold War because there has been no direct war between them. I mean, walang pisikalan o patayan ang nagaganap. This was just a war of ideologies, labanan ng kaisipan o paniniwala. Dito pumasok ang ideya ng democracy, capitalism, communism, socialism, at iba pa. So what are the differences between global north and the global south? Global north are considered as the high-income countries such as Norway, Australia, New Zealand, and others. Kasi nga sabi natin na sa global north, usually ang mga bansa rito ay ang mga taga-Europe at the same time part ng Northern America. While global south are countries that are less developed and characterized by low level of economic development, large inequalities in living standards, and low life expectancy such as Africa, Latin America, and developing Asia, including the Middle East. Now, I am going to present to you some of the data in comparing Global North and Global South. So, sa Global North, dito na papasok ang First World and Second World countries. The Global North, home to all the members of the G8 or Group 8 and P5 or Permanent 5 members of the United Nations Security Council. On the other hand, sa Global South, ito ay ang mga Third World countries. Global North is richer and developed region, which is contrary to the Global South, which is poor and less developed region. Also, it shows the imbalanced percentage in terms of food and shelter between the two. Global North has 95% and the Global South only has 5%. In terms of economy, industries and major businesses, commerce, and finance are in the global north. It means that the businesses are their means of living. Sa global south naman, they are the source of raw materials of the north. They are called agricultural countries and their means of living is more on agriculture. So ito yung sinasabi ko kanina nga G8 countries or group of 8 countries at P5 countries. Sa G8 countries, we have Canada, USA, United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, Russia, and Japan. At ang 5 permanent members naman ng United Nations Security Council ay ang Japan, United Kingdom, Russia, France, at USA. And there is another comparison between the global north and the global south. Global north controls 4/5 of the income earned anywhere in the world. However, the south has access to 1/5 of the world's income. O diba hindi na naman balance? 90% of the manufacturing industries are owned by and located in the north. And in the south, as nations become economically developed, they may become part of the north regardless of geographical location. So if ever daw na ang bansa sa global south ay magkaroon ng progress o development, pwede silang magiging part ng global north. Sabi ko nga hindi nagmamatter ang geographical location ng isang bansa. Even na nasa southern hemisphere siya at pasok siya sa standards ng global north, then pwede siya maging parte ng global north. And any nations that do not qualify for developed status are in effect deemed to be part of the south. So vice versa lang siya. Ang mga bansa na nasa global north ay nagbaba ang progress o development at maging parte na rin siya ng global south. How the third world became the global south. The world was largely divided into several empires in the 19th century. Each empire possessed a civilized central that were more or less primitive or even barbaric. In the 19th century, it is a time na uso yung age exploration at expedition. Ito yung mga bansang nananako pa sa ibang bansa. Third World was coined in 1952 by Alfred Sauvy. So si Alfred Sauvy ang nagpasimula ng salitang Third World. He is a French demographer, anthropologist, and economic historian who compared it with the Third Estate. So what is Third Estate? It is a concept that emerged in the context of the French Revolution. So basically, ang salitang Third World ay nanggaling sa France kasi si Sauvy ay isang French. At ang pinagmula ng Third World na Third Estate ay isang konsepto ng French Revolution. Sa France kasi daw ay may tatlong kategorya. First estate refers to the clergy and the monarch. Clergy is a part or member of the Christian church. However, the monarch is the king and queen. Second estate refers to the nobility, which is the group of people who have a noble class. Sila yung may mga dugong bughaw at may mga honorary title. Lastly, the third estate refers to the balance of French population as contrasted the poor countries to the first world and the second world. Most people in the third world lived far from the global sources of economic, political, and military power. Most were subjugated, most illiterate. Even then, they formed a majority of the world population. But such awareness was growing among leaders within these poor countries, many of whom had been educated. This awareness and exposure to Western culture raised hopes and inspired many third world leaders to try to improve colonial living conditions and win political independence. Opposition to domination by the First World also grew through increasing migration and travel, including that stimulated by the two world wars. Many troops who had participated in these wars were from what soon to be called the Third World. The core idea for this is very simple. Because of awareness and exposure to the culture and practices of Western people, third world countries' leaders were triggered to make change to improve their living conditions and attain political liberalizations. And because of globalization, it helps third world countries to deal with the rest of the world, increase their economic growth in solving poverty problems in their country. How do we know that the countries belong either in first world, second world, or in the third world? Nowadays, social scientists sort countries into groups based on their specific levels of economic productivity. To do this, they use the gross domestic product or GDP that measures the total output of a country and the GNI or gross national income that measures GDP per capita. If the country is in third world, then it belongs to the global south. Here are some of the characteristics of global south that can be related to the third world that I prepared for you to understand it easily. So global south in contrast to the global north has a high poverty. So naghihirap yung mga bansa. And there is high child mortality. So maraming namamatay na mga bata. Also, they have low economic and educational development, low self-consumption of natural resources. And at the same time, they are vulnerable to exploitation by large corporations and industrial nations. Sabi nga natin kanina, sila yung source ng raw materials sa Global North, kaya nagkakaroon ng exploitation. Next, they are behind in technological advancement. Medyo makaluma na yung ginagamit nila ng mga teknolohiya. Their economy are dependent on developed countries or the first world countries. Imagine nyo yun, nakadepende pa rin sila sa Global North o yung mga developed countries, even they have unstable governments. And Global South is a high fertility rates, which means they have low economic growth. And last but not the least, they are high gender-related illiteracy, which means they have low gender awareness.
Therefore, Third World and Global South ay may kaugnayan. They are the nations that are poorest or economically underdeveloped. I hope I explained it well and you gained some insights. So, I am Hannah Grace P. Harama, your reporter for today. Thank you.
Philippines belong to the third world country. If we Filipinos unite, participate, and support our government programs in terms of development, then we can be included in the global north. To become an industrialized and progressed country, it will start from the citizens of each country. Stand one, make a change. Begin in the south to reach the global north. Thank you for listening.